Most people assume white visitors are automatically welcomed in Amish communities because of shared ancestry. They're completely wrong. What happens when outsiders cross into these closed societies reveals uncomfortable truths about acceptance, tradition, and the shocking reality of Amish hospitality that nobody talks about. The surprise reality. Common misconceptions paint Amish communities as welcoming white visitors with open arms due to shared European ancestry. The shocking truth reveals that skin color provides zero advantage in gaining community outsider interaction, with strict protocols determining who receives basic politeness versus genuine welcome. Most white visitors leave confused by unexpected coolness from people they assumed would embrace them. The invisible barriers. Language barriers immediately expose outsiders, as Pennsylvania Dutch conversations halt when visitors approach. Dress codes serve as instant identity markers. Modern clothing screams tourist, while plain dress indicates serious interest. Behavioral expectations include specific walking patterns, voice levels, and minutes. Amish community members can identify tourist intentions versus genuine seekers through subtle cues invisible to outsiders. These barriers protect community privacy while maintaining polite facades. The business exception. Commercial interactions dramatically alter Amish visitor dynamics, creating calculated politeness driven by economic necessity rather than genuine welcome. Tourist-facing businesses train family members in outsider management, presenting carefully curated versions of Amish culture while protecting authentic community life. Market days transform reserved community members into friendly salespeople, but this performance ends when business hours close. Private community spaces remain strictly off-limits, regardless of customer relationships. White visitors often mistake commercial courtesy for personal acceptance, not realizing they're experiencing professional hospitality designed to generate income while maintaining cultural boundaries through skilled interaction management. The trust test. Gaining genuine Amish community acceptance requires passing unwritten tests that most white visitors never recognize. Authentic trust develops through demonstrated respect for community values. Consistent stories reveal white visitors who earned acceptance through humble service, learning Pennsylvania Dutch, and respecting privacy boundaries, versus those who remained perpetual outsiders despite years of attempts. The process spans generations. Children watch potential community allies for character consistency before families consider deeper relationships. Financial generosity means nothing without demonstrated integrity. True acceptance requires abandoning tourist mentality and approaching children's reactions. Amish children receive specific training in managing white visitor encounters, learning to maintain polite and community members who prioritize child safety over visitor satisfaction. Playground dynamics shift dramatically when outsiders appear, with children quickly moving closer to authority figures while maintaining surface politeness. These trained responses protect both children and community secrets while demonstrating sophisticated social control mechanisms. Young Amish people learn early that friendly doesn't mean trusting, and politeness serves community protection rather than individual relationship building with unknown white visitors. Gender and age dynamic. White visitor treatment varies dramatically based on gender, age, and perceived threat levels to community stability and traditional values. Young white women face intense scrutiny regarding modest dress codes and behavioral appropriateness, with community mothers watching for influences that might affect Amish daughters. Older white men receive cautious respect due to traditional authority structures, but face suspicion about motivations for community interest. White families with children gain slightly more acceptance than single visitors, as family structures align with Amish values. Elderly white visitors often receive warmer treatment due to shared traditional values and interests in Amish women and challenges to established male hierarchies. Professional white visitors like doctors or veterinarians gain functional acceptance but remain outside social circles. Gender-specific interaction rules prevent inappropriate relationships while maintaining community moral standards. Age considerations reflect Amish respect for experience while protecting younger community members from outside influences that could threaten traditional lifestyle choices and religious commitments. Information flow. Amish communities carefully control information shared with white visitors, presenting curated versions of their culture while protecting sacred knowledge and community secrets from outsider exploitation. Designated community spokespeople receive training in acceptable topics, deflection techniques, and boundary maintenance during visitor interaction. Sensitive subjects like internal conflicts, financial matters, and religious practices remain strictly off-limits, regardless of visitor, persistence, or relationship duration. Information sharing follows established hierarchies. Only church leaders discuss theological matters, while craftsmen focus on trade-related topics. White visitors often mistake surface-level sharing for deep cultural access, not realizing they're receiving carefully filtered content designed to satisfy curiosity without revealing authentic community life. Historical experiences with exploitative researchers, journalists, and tourists have created sophisticated protection systems. Community members practice standard responses to common questions, ensuring consistent messaging while preventing individual members from accidentally revealing protected information. Children learn early what constitutes acceptable sharing versus community secrets. This information control protects Amish autonomy while managing white visitor expectations through strategic revelation and concealment of cultural details. Section 8. The Modern Tourism Pressure. And 80 words. Increasing white visitor numbers create unprecedented pressure on Amish communities, struggling to balance economic opportunities with cultural preservation in an increasingly connected world. Social media documentation threatens community privacy as white visitors share photos, videos, and location information that attract additional unwanted attention. Traditional visitor management systems designed for occasional encounters now face constant tourist streams, requiring sophisticated crowd control and boundary enforcement mechanisms. Communities adapt through designated interaction zones, scheduled visiting hours, and trained family representatives who manage outsider relations while protecting authentic community life from exploitation. Tourism revenue provides crucial income but creates dependency relationships that compromise traditional self-sufficiency values. Young community members face increased exposure to outside influences through white visitor interactions, challenging traditional isolation strategies. Property values increase due to tourist interest, making land acquisition difficult for expanding families. Some communities relocate to more remote areas to escape tourist pressure, while others develop commercial enterprises that control visitor access through structured experiences. Modern technology allows white visitors to research communities extensively before arriving, creating unrealistic expectations about access and acceptance. These pressures force rapid adaptations to centuries-old social structures while maintaining core cultural values and religious commitments. Psychological defense. Amish communities have developed sophisticated psychological strategies to manage white visitor encounters while protecting individual and collective mental health from constant outside scrutiny and cultural pressure. Surface-level politeness masks deep emotional labor required to maintain community boundaries while managing visitor expectations and demands for authentic cultural experiences. Community members experience stress from performing cultural identity for white tourists while maintaining genuine relationships within their own social circles. Children learn compartmentalization skills early, developing separate personas for visitor interactions versus authentic community relationships and personal expression. Collective coping mechanisms include shared debriefing sessions where community members process visitor encounters and reinforce cultural boundaries through mutual support and validation. Religious frameworks provide psychological protection by framing visitor management as spiritual service while maintaining personal distance from outside influences. Traditional storytelling preserves community wisdom about managing outsiders, passing down successful strategies through generational knowledge transfer. Mental health protection includes limiting individual exposure to visitors, rotating interaction responsibilities, and providing community support for members struggling with outside pressure. These psychological defenses prevent cultural contamination while maintaining enough openness to function economically in broader society. Understanding these mechanisms reveals the emotional cost of constant white visitor pressure on communities trying to preserve traditional lifestyles in modern America, while maintaining authentic spiritual and cultural practices. The integration reality. True integration of white visitors into Amish communities remains virtually impossible, despite decades of attempts by sincere seekers attracted to traditional lifestyle and spiritual values. Successful community joining requires total lifestyle transformation, including technology, abandonment, Pennsylvania, Dutch fluency, traditional craft mastery, and complete social network replacement that few outsiders can sustain long-term. Religious conversion involves years of study, community evaluation, and demonstrated commitment that goes far beyond surface-level lifestyle changes or romantic notions about simple living. Economic integration requires developing traditional skills that support community needs while abandoning modern career paths and financial systems that provide security in broader society. Social acceptance demands understanding complex relationship networks, family histories, and cultural nuances that take generations to fully comprehend and navigate successfully. The few white visitors who have achieved genuine community membership sacrificed everything from modern convenience to family relationships, dedicating decades to proving their commitment through consistent behavior and service. Even successful integrants face lifelong scrutiny and must continuously prove their dedication to community values over personal desires or outside influences. Cultural authenticity requires abandoning modern perspectives, educational backgrounds, and worldviews that conflict with traditional Amish understanding of proper living and spiritual devotion. Most white visitors underestimate these requirements, expecting acceptance based on admiration rather than transformation. This reality protects community integrity, while revealing the true cost of authentic cultural membership versus tourist experiences or superficial lifestyle experimentation. The Economic Balancing Act. Amish communities face increasingly complex economic decisions as white visitor interest creates lucrative opportunities that threaten traditional values and community cohesion through unwanted cultural exposure and dependency on outside income. Tourist revenue supports family businesses, funds community projects, and provides economic stability in rural areas where traditional farming faces modern challenges from land costs, regulations, and market pressures. However, economic dependence on white visitors creates uncomfortable compromises between financial necessity and cultural preservation that challenge core values about self-sufficiency and world separation. Communities develop strategies to maximize economic benefits while minimizing cultural contamination through controlled visitor experiences, designated commercial zones, and careful management of tourist access to authentic community life. Young people face particular challenges as tourism exposure provides glimpses of outside opportunities that conflict with traditional career paths and community expectations about proper life choices. Economic success from white visitor interest can create wealth disparities within communities traditionally committed to equality and mutual support, threatening social cohesion and shared values. Some families become wealthy from tourism, while others struggle with traditional occupations, creating tensions that challenge community, unity, and cooperative spirit. Business relationships with white customers require ongoing interaction that may lead to inappropriate relationships or cultural influences that undermine traditional authority structures and religious commitments. Communities must constantly evaluate whether economic opportunities justify cultural risks, leading to difficult decisions about tourism development, business expansion, and community boundaries. This balancing act shapes how communities respond to white visitors, mixing economic pragmatism with cultural protection in ways that constantly evolve as pressures change and opportunities multiply. The future evolution. Amish communities face unprecedented challenges in managing white visitor relationships as technological connectivity, climate change, and social pressures create new dynamics that traditional isolation strategies cannot fully address in an increasingly connected world. Younger generations grow up with greater outside exposure than their parents experienced, creating generational tensions about visitor policies, cultural boundaries, and appropriate levels of engagement with white tourists seeking authentic experiences. Climate change forces agricultural adaptations that may require outside expertise and technology, potentially opening communities to greater white visitor integration than traditional values allow while maintaining religious commitments to simple living. Social media makes complete isolation impossible, as white visitors document communities regardless of permission, forcing reactive policies rather than proactive cultural protection strategies that have served communities for centuries. Population growth requires land expansion into areas with greater outside proximity, making visitor encounters inevitable and requiring new management strategies that balance traditional isolation with practical reality. Economic pressures from modern society force greater integration with outside systems that bring white visitors into previously protected community spaces through business necessity and regulatory compliance. Educational requirements and healthcare needs create dependencies on outside professionals who bring different cultural perspectives into community life. Future community survival may require fundamental changes to visitor policies, cultural boundaries, and traditional isolation practices, while maintaining core religious and social values that define Amish identity. Successful adaptation will likely involve selective modernization, strategic visitor engagement, and innovative protection mechanisms that preserve cultural authenticity while acknowledging practical realities of life in contemporary America. Communities must evolve visitor policies that protect their future while honoring their past, creating sustainable approaches to white visitor management that support both economic survival and cultural continuity across generations while maintaining spiritual integrity and community bonds.